Welcome, everybody. Wow, this is a good crowd. This is probably the biggest we've had in a long time. So I'm impressed. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to everybody online. It's our first quarterly round. Well, I'm just going to start calling them Brownfield Roundtables because I don't know if we're going to be doing them quarterly, but it's our first one of the year. So happy New Year, everybody. And I'm really glad to see you. So we figured, since probably the most important thing for any redevelopment is the money, so we figured we'd do a very funding-centric roundtable this time, just to get a whole bunch of people in the room to explain our types of funding we have at the DEP and other sources. So hopefully it goes good. Obviously, we always have their in-house rules. Friendly reminder to please make sure the microphone is muted online and your camera is off. To request an opportunity to ask a question, please enter your name and affiliation in the chat box. When called on to speak, you may unmute yourself, and if you would like, turn on your camera. And obviously, when you're finished, turn everything off. Next one. For everybody here, make sure you all signed in. If there's not enough room in the paper out there, put it on the back, because obviously we have a lot more people than we usually get. And for online, please enter your first and last name and organization to represent the chat box, so we can make sure that you get your credit for being here. For those who have, most of you probably have already been here. The bathrooms are over there, out the door to the left. And we do have a self-serve cafeteria that's automated. Go through the lobby and keep following it, the hallway to the left. This time we don't have the sensitive microphones we had last time. So if you want to have your side conversations, you probably can now. But because apparently they were too sensitive, and it was just made things a little bit difficult. So with that, I guess we'll get started. So I'll let Rachel Stopper. We'll be here to talk about HDSRF.
I'm just gonna, I'm a supervisor in the HDSRF unit here in the Brownfield office. I'm gonna give an update on the status of the fund. So currently, we have 5 staff reviewing HDSRF applications. Also, right now, there's $76 million available in the grant, and that is as of November 2025, and that number does not include anything currently pending at EDA. I wanted to talk about our output from last year. Last year, we did very well, and last year we sent $34.8 million in recommendations to the Economic Development Authority, which is very high compared to previous years. So much so that I wanted to do a little chart to show our output compared to 2024. And so our recommendations to EDA in 2024 were $14.9 million, and last year we did $34.8 million. Some reasons for this might be we had a lot of positive energy surrounding the new BDA designations. We've had increased outreach. We did a lot of presentations last year, and we also have more staff reviewing HDSRF applications. This is significant when I think about how much our annual allocation was last year. Remember, we get a percentage of the corporate business tax every summer, and that was about $15 million. And so we are showing that we are spending that allocation or sending recommendations to EDA. I also wanted to do a little update on our BDA application recommendations. Last year, or in 2024, we only did 374,000. We did a lot of outreach with our BDAs since 2023, actually, when we announced that you could apply. And last year, BDA applications, we did 13.4 million, which was a huge increase. And again, we think that was because there was a lot of positive energy around the BDA program, more staff, and our outreach. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the status of one of our grants. We have a $10 million allocation every calendar year that is available for all municipalities to apply for. the Renewable Energy Grant, the Affordable Housing Grant, and the Recreation Conservation Grant. These are our non-BDA RA grants. That 10 million is currently oversubscribed. And I know it's only February. So what we will do is we will continue to receive applications, and they'll be reviewed in the order they've been received. And what we plan to do is work with the municipality and the LSRP to make sure these applications are administratively and technically complete, so that come the end of the year, the very end of the year, and in January 2027, we're ready to send all of these in bulk to the Economic Development Authority.
I got a question. The percentages, when it says 75% rec and con, is that 75% of those types of applications get funded, or?
Sure. So I can talk a little bit about these three grants. So the 75% renewable energy grant, for example, 75% recreation conservation grant, 75% means that the grant pays for 75% of the remedial action work.
Thank you.
For the 50% affordable housing, the 50% represents the percent that the housing is affordable, 50% of that percent. So if you're building 100% affordable housing, the grant pays for 50% of the remedial action. So what this means is you can submit your applications this year, but we're not going to be sending them to EDA until the end of the year or January 2027, and EDA won't be able to approve them until next year. But I highly recommend that you send in applications now, because we're going to be reviewing these in the order they've been received. And I can talk about this on the next slide, and I will talk about this on the next slide, but the only way that this can be improved, because it looks like the last couple of years there's been a lot more asks for this grant, and 10 million might not be able to cut it. So that would involve a legislative change. Also, and I've talked about this at all roundtables for a little bit of time now, the $5 million for the nonprofit grant has been oversubscribed, and the allocation can only be re-upped through a legislative change. The grant can only be made permanent through a legislative change. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, please let me know. It seems like it's a good time to work with the legislative representatives now, because the status of the nonprofit grant and also the status of the non-BDA RA grant, it seems that maybe we need more than 10 million. And I should say that that grant amount, that 10 million, has been adjusted in the past recently. We used to have 5 million for that grant. And then I think it was 2018, it got reduced to 2.5, which was pretty terrible. But then in 2021, it got increased to 10 million. So it's not unheard of to change that amount. And that's it. Send your applications to srpsubmissions@dep.nj.gov. And are there any questions?
And I think I saw Caitlin raise her hand,
Okay.
or I don't know if that's a technical question. Let me see. She didn't put it in the chat, so never mind.
Okay. Yep, Alan.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. The runner is here. Alan Miller, Montrose Environmental. Rachel, so last year the funding amount was 15 million, correct? From the CBT last year for HDSR.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I do want to say we get that every fiscal year.
Right.
This 10 million allocation is every calendar year.
So I guess my question then is, how do they intersect? Like the BDA HDSRF funding and the 10 million for the renewable energy conservation and affordable housing, that all comes out of that 15 million, even though it's different fiscal cycles?
No, there's, and EDA might be able to talk more about this, but if we start off with like that allocation might be added to funds that are already there. Like I think we had 64 million already that the 15 million got added to, and then it's that pool of money that applications get funded through. But EDA is here. Maybe Michael can talk more about that.
I mean,
So wait a minute, but the runner is here. Franklin's gonna run it. I don't know.
While we're waiting, the slides will be posted. Where do you post those?
They're going to be on the training website. So where you go to the site remediation trainings, they'll be there.
Hi, this is Michael Dealey from the NJEDA. So the appropriation is through the New Jersey State Constitution. And so that is an annual fiscal year appropriation that is funds that just come into the program for the full program, for all the different grants. The $10 million threshold is the HDSRF statute, which is a calendar year limitation. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Any more questions regarding the HDSRF program? Anything there, Jamila?
No questions.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rachel. Next, we have Melissa Dolinsky from the NJEDA. Talk about brownfield incentives.
Thank you. I am Melissa Dolinsky, Assistant Director at EDA. Elizabeth was scheduled to be here, so if you're looking for Elizabeth, I'm not her. So there are 3 EDA programs. Don't know if slides made it to you, Rachel. 3 EDA programs that I can speak about today specific to brownfields. Obviously, EDA has a lot of programs. These are brownfield specific programs. So the first one is the Brownfields Redevelopment Incentive Program. That is a tax credit. So if people are familiar with tax credits or not, those are not grants, those are not loans, those are tax credits. Those tax credits come from Treasury after you have satisfied all of the requirements of the program. There's different award amounts based on the size of the program and the eligible costs that go along with it. So that's something to look into if you have large-scale remediation projects and things that would be more suitable for a tax credit program. You can do all different things through that tax credit. You can do remediation, you can do demolition, you can do asbestos abatement. So there's a bunch of different activities that can be handled under there. That maybe not as traditional brownfields as we think about here in this room most of the time. You do not need to own the site, so that is a good thing. Site control is necessary, but you don't need to own the site. And these are basically remediation projects that are covered under this program. Obviously, those would be subject to New Jersey prevailing wage, and then you would monetize the tax credit, obviously, to pay back your bridge loan or any other financing that you needed in order to cover the tax credit. So we're happy to talk about these programs more in depth with you. Obviously, they take planning and different sources of funding that you might need. The next one on my list is the Brownfields Planning and Assessment Services, which is generously funded here by US EPA. We are happy to be a recipient of one of their assessment grants. So we can provide assessments, investigations, and planning work through our vendors. So there's 5 vendors that have been selected and approved by the EDA board. So we can do those activities. Obviously, we need to work with our partner at EPA in order to get your sites approved, but that is a pretty painless process for the municipalities and different people that are looking to do that, because EDA will handle the vendor contract, the vendor payment. So that is a bit of a different program that EDA has established. There's really no application or application fee that's associated with that. You complete a 2-page form. You tell us what the project looks like, what the scope is, where it is, who owns it, and just that baseline type of information. And then we'll take it from there. We will talk to EPA, make sure that it's eligible, and then we'll come back and work out a scope of work with you. So that's something that I think is useful, especially on those smaller sites, things that are maybe stalled a little bit, need some jump starting to get ahead. And that's throughout the state of New Jersey. So we want a state award so we can work throughout the state of New Jersey on that one. And the final one is the Brownfield Impact Fund. That is a Brownfield US EPA revolving loan fund grant. So the grants are oversubscribed, but the loans are still available. So if you need a loan for cleanup, that's something that we can help you with as well. It is subject to Davis-Bacon and prevailing wage, so something to keep in mind as you're penciling out your project. But that is it from me. If there's anything else that anyone wants to ask me, sure, of course.
Go ahead, Tom.
One question, do you know when it's going to be rolled out?
Oh, it's all rolling. So they're all open. Sorry, apologies. They're all open and they're all rolling, accepting applications.
What about the brick? I know that they have.
The BRIP is open.
Is it open?
It needs to be, oh shoot, sorry, I'm sorry. It needs to go through the legislative change, I'm sorry. I'm coming back under Elizabeth. This is a recent reorg, so I'm coming back from community development and now I'm in real estate as of Tuesday of last week. So apologies, massive apologies. So I've had a week in real estate under EDA. But yeah, so it needs legislative changes and it will be coming back. Sorry.
So it's not open.
It's not open, my apologies. My apologies. I've been on a hiatus in community development for 2 years, working on cannabis.
And it's been open,
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, you're forgiven.
But my partner is at the CRC, if anyone's listening. Yes, sorry, I think there was a few more questions.
That was the same question I had.
Oh, okay, apologies.
Do you know when it may reopen?
I do not,
Been
but I can
closed
get
for a
you
year.
some information regarding where we are in the process. Yes.
So I had a question for a project. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So I had a question for a project that was asking about how the Brownfield Impact Fund can help
Yes.
for things that HDSR can't pay for, such as demolition, lead-based paint, and asbestos abatement.
Mhm.
The Brownfield Impact Fund pays for that, I believe.
The Brownfield Impact Fund can pay
Can pay.
for that as long as it's approved by EPA. So we would go to with your scope of work to EPA.
Oh, okay.
So that's our revolving loan fund
Oh.
grant that EDA receives from EPA. So what we do is we take your scope of work and we send it to them for approval.
Okay.
So those type of elements, if they're included in the scope of work, we need to work through that.
Yeah. So Shanine, are there projects that have been funded through the Impact Fund so far? Like examples?
Yes, I know there are. Unfortunately, I cannot speak for the project.
No, that's okay.
right now. But yes, we do. We encourage that we use the impact funds with our funding because we understand that our money is just seed money to get to the point of redevelopment. So we encourage you to try and consider using other sources of funding throughout your redevelopment timeline. So that can come from just the planning or developing the inventory of the sites all the way to actual physical redevelopment.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'll talk a little bit about that in the presentation that I'm doing on.
All right, thank you.
Over here. Yep.
Hi, Mary Cushing from the town of Harrison. Steve Hayes is our consultant, long time. Last year, I guess it was, we became very interested in a couple of these programs for one particular developer. He crunched the numbers and he said because of prevailing wage, it was never going to work. Since then, I talked to other of our redevelopers. They said the same thing over the years. They've never taken advantage of any of these things because the numbers didn't work. Two questions. Has there ever been discussion about limiting that or developing that, or maybe developing similar programs that do not have that restriction. I'm just asking.
I'm just thinking. Have there been discussions? Yes, there have been discussions, but they don't
Go anywhere.
go with the legislative.
And that's driven by the legislature.
Yes, yes.
So we would have to petition the legislature, I guess, to anything to ever happen. I'm just saying for the future, not just for us, but for everybody. I think it's
It's a big issue.
It's a huge issue. Yes, I do
Federal
understand.
programs are ruled by Bacon-Davis. The state programs are ruled by prevailing wage that Governor Corzine kicked in, I think it was, way back when. But there's been no relief from that, and developers do shy away. The developers in Harrison that we've talked to said anything $1 million cleanup redevelopment, they just stay away from. They can't do it. It doesn't work for them. So just a comment, because I know that there's not much chance that a Democratic legislature is going to flex on that, but just a comment. It's been an impediment.
Yes, yes, I do understand. Because I have that conversation with people multiple times regarding it not penciling out for them, their project. One thing I would say is because the Brownfields Planning and Assessment Services is assessment investigation work, that's not the same, right? So it's not the same, that's not true construction, right? So we're looking at that through a different lens of our vendors that can supply those services to you. And I understand from the consultant's point of view that might not be attractive, but we have in the past done projects with LSRPs that are already retained for the sites. They continue to work for their client, and they can do pieces of the project that might be financial burden to their clients, right? So if those are additional wells, additional groundwater investigation that needs to happen in order to complete your RI, that's something that we've done in the past where the LSRP has stayed completely on board, worked with his or her client, and then we take that supplemental part and work together. So that's something that I think is helpful and useful to explain to people. Anything else? Any questions?
We do have an online question from David Morris. If you could unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, good morning. Yes, this is David from Tectonic. I just have a question regarding boards of education. They are considered to be municipal government entities, but I'm just wondering whether specifically they're able to apply for this fund for any of their disused properties, please.
Yes. Hi, Dave. It's Melissa. Yes, you'd be able. Good morning. Yes, you'd be able to have your client, if they were a Board of Education, apply for these programs.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. So I have lots of different people, nonprofits, municipalities, private owners that come in, especially for the Brownfields Planning and Assessment Services. So a wide variety of applicants and people that come in. Okay, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Going to change it up a little bit. So the EPA TAP coordinator, NJIT, is a great source for brownfield information. So we were going to have someone, I think they're online, Galen Bruno, to talk about their program and how they can help folks with brownfield redevelopment.
Great, thanks, Ron. I'm here. I'm sorry I can't be there in the room with you today. I'm not sure who's advancing the slides, if it's Rachel or Jamila, but if you could. Okay, great, thanks. So, again, my name is Kaylin Bruno. I'm Director of Environmental Services at NJIT Technical Assistance to Brownfield Communities Program, or TAB for short. We are the EPA designated TAP provider for Region 2, which includes New Jersey, as well as New York, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. We also do this for Region 4, which is the southeastern states. So we have a wide perspective, basically, on what's going on with brownfields across the country. We provide free technical assistance to local governments, nonprofit organizations, agencies, institutions looking to overcome brownfield challenges. We'll even assist developers or consultants if they're working with a public entity. Next slide, please. So we've presented our program at this roundtable a number of times before, but today I really want to dive into some examples of what we do and how, even if we don't actually directly provide funding for projects, we can provide value and lots of free help for communities pursuing funding. So whether this is providing guidance in the regulatory process, I have a little animation, or advice on how we can pursue these different funding sources you're hearing about today in order to stack them effectively. Next slide. So we're fully staffed over here. We have a multidisciplinary team. This is just a few of us in this picture. We do have Sarah Heck, our new director of a sponsored project. She's joining you in person in Trenton. Sarah, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you want to wave to everybody. I personally am an LSRP, I'm a PG, and we also on staff have social scientists, a sustainability planner, an economics specialist, a content creator, events planner, and so on. And we all work together to deliver our program, which consists of three main aspects. We have our Brownfield Academy, we do community engagement and educational forums, and one-on-one technical assistance. So I want to show you some examples of these and how we can help New Jersey communities access resources for their projects. Next slide, please. So first is our Brownfield Academy. This is our website. We have a lot of really great information on here. We have how-to videos and learning modules on best practices for managing brownfield projects, even managing project funding, or how to procure a consultant. So all of which help communities new to this work stay compliant with requirements. And we also have success stories and tools on here to provide guidance and inspiration for what's next for our underutilized land that we have here in New Jersey. Next slide. Next are the events that we do. So here, if you have stakeholders, if you have partners, local leaders that you need to get up to speed on brownfields and you need them on board to move your project forward, we can help with that. So we do brownfield basics for that audience. We can also do workshops. A popular one that we do is a capacity building workshop. We do this on brownfield inventorying. So with this workshop, we provide the foundation for a pipeline of projects so you can better plan your funding strategy. We can also facilitate workshops for the general public. Sometimes it helps to have a third party like us get community consensus or engage them in the redevelopment process. And community involvement not only serves to build public trust and support for the process or project, but is really important to some funders like the EPA. Viable projects with demonstrated support are really attractive to funders, so we can help you establish that. Again, we do this for free. Next slide, please. So here's some examples. We did, if you want to go back, sorry. Thank you. We did a full-day brownfield inventory workshop for the city of Buffalo. We made custom maps of their community and talked through real examples of where and how to find brownfields. This nonprofit actually has since acquired a brownfield in their community for a park project. So, these maps really show the extent of vacancy in their neighborhoods, which they had an emotional reaction to and really galvanized their interest in brownfields work. So that was pretty cool. We also recently hosted and facilitated a design charrette for a city property, and last year we had a multidisciplinary group of honor students from NJIT working together to envision a reuse for a large New York brownfield, and they were really creative. Of course, had all these great ideas without the constraints of a budget or reality, but it was a really fun exercise. Next slide, please. I think I just want to mention we can do this virtually as well. So we have tools from the university. We can do engaging sessions using like whiteboards and other interactive learning online. So if that's more accessible for your community, we can accommodate that as well. Next slide. So there's 2 other educational events that we can host and facilitate for free that I really want to highlight here. And the main theme of these events is based on something that I think most practitioners are familiar with, and that's the idea that these sites often present sophisticated challenges. So like, no matter how straightforward you think your remediation project is, you might get that shovel in the ground and find something unexpected. I know it's happened to all of us, the best of us, right? Or the site conditions are making it hard to even imagine what a site reuse could be for that site. So first, to address these challenges, we do an event called Breaking Brownfields. There's a forum where a community presents like a stuck, quote unquote, stuck brownfield site to an interdisciplinary panel of experts for a think tank like feedback session. The idea here is that there might be sophisticated challenges, but chances are they're not totally unique, and that seasoned professionals like planners, remediation contractors, developers might run into similar situations that we can all share and learn from these scenarios, right? The sites highlighted for these sessions are usually priority redevelopment sites for the community, but they're having trouble attracting a developer. And we've had success with these. It's not uncommon for there to be like a line of developers waiting to talk at the end of the event. And just for example, Perth Amboy connected with a developer at one of these events and successfully remediated and redeveloped one of their brownfields. So the other event that I want to highlight is the IWG, or Interagency Working Group. This is kind of the same idea as a Breaking Brownfield, but the panel of experts is comprised of state and federal agencies. This is great for sites that maybe have a complex permitting or funding needs. So today, you're going to hear a lot of funding sources. You might have lingering questions or doubts if your particular site or reuse project is eligible, or otherwise, you might have a stuck site that needs focused attention on how these different sources can complement and work together. We're always poised. We're always ready to do one of those events. We just need the site. So if you think if you have a good site that could benefit from one of these events, let us know, and our contact information will be at the end of my presentation. The next slide, please. So the last thing I want to, or the last bucket of our assistance is our one-on-one technical assistance. So we are often a community's first call, or at least we want to be, right, before they're ready to engage a consultant. The most common questions we hear are, what's the deal with this site and what can we do with it? So, after an initial intake meeting, then my team is off. We're scouring and scraping the deepest, darkest corners of Data Miner. We're reviewing all the reports and the site's status, pulling together resources, and road mapping the next steps. We really tailor and customize this for the community and site. So the bullets you see here on this slide, they're examples. This isn't necessarily a menu of our services. So next slide, please. So for example, some local governments or organizations might have an idea of a project that they want to undertake, but just need to find the right property for that reuse. So maybe like a microforest, renewable energy, or green infrastructure. Click, please. We can inventory and prioritize sites for that particular reuse. So then you can pursue the right funding sources, right? Click. please. Here's another example of assistance we did. This site isn't in New Jersey, but I think it's pretty cool, and you guys might find it interesting. This is one of the oldest brownfield sites I've worked on. It was first industrialized for manufacturing munitions for the War of 1812. But anyway, over the years, there have been investigations. They started and they stopped. So there was a lot of data. And the question of, well, what is the status of the site wasn't immediately apparent. We had to do a lot of digging here. We mined, we digitized the data to show where the unaddressed soil contamination is. And for this, we actually also calculated some risk-based cleanup standards to develop a scope. So they could know like approximately how many more samples needed to be taken in order to complete the investigation here. So then they knew which grant program would best fit this additional work. We also analyzed the other site constraints, zoning, flooding, topography. There's a lot going on this site just to see what reuse is feasible. And the local leadership here was really motivated to get this into productive reuse, but you could see, there's a lot going on. This is going to be challenging for them, but this is a site we assisted. Click, please. And last but not least, we do grant reviews and application assistance. So we can help you apply for any of the programs that you're going to hear about today. Next slide, please. And that's it. Here's how to contact us. We have a lot of different ways. You can scan this QR code, our email address, tab@njit.edu. And we would be happy to discuss or take any questions that you might have if there's time.
I have a question. Does the interagency work group meet regularly on a schedule, or is it as requested?
Right now it's as requested.
Okay, thank you.
We have reorganized, so we are ready to go. If you have a site in mind, reach out. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Thanks a lot, Caitlin. I guess that's it. No other questions? Right along here. Next, we have Celia Murphy on some Green Acres incentives.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here and to add parks into the mix. So I am the bureau chief of the local nonprofit assistance program at Green Acres. That's the side of the program that does grants and loans to municipalities, counties, and eligible nonprofits. And I'm going to talk a little bit about funding for acquiring brownfield sites and redeveloping them into parks. Slide. Okay, so we have three main funding programs. There is land acquisition, which is funding to acquire land that will then be used for recreation and conservation purposes. We have a park development program, which is to create or redevelop parks for passive or active recreation. It really runs the gamut. And then we have a stewardship program, which is all about natural resources or historic landscapes. The eligible applicants are local governments, which is counties and municipalities, and eligible nonprofits. There's a certification on our website that gives a lot of detail about what eligible is for nonprofits. I'm not going to go into it now because there's a lot of information, but happy to answer questions now or later. So I'm going to focus on the acquisitions and the park development. So slide. Our funding, can be used to acquire brownfield sites. We, once acquired, then they would have to be used as parkland. The definition of recreation and conservation is on the slide. It's basically anything that's going to be for conservation or outdoor recreation. That's an important distinction. We don't fund indoor recreation. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so I guess I can do my own clicking. That's the idea. Yeah, the property has to have clear title. It has to be clean at the time that we fund it, and it has to be open to the public once it's funded. And there's no discrimination based on residency or any other factor. Okay, so what are we going to pay
Your
for?
slides, don't worry about that. I'll move them along for you.
Oh, you will?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what are we going to pay for? We'll pay for anything necessary to acquire the property, except for remediation, which for brownfield sites is obviously a large concern. We are very supportive of brownfields to greenfields conversions, and so we will work with you in any way we can. Which means that we will pay for all of the investigation work. We'll pay for the preliminary assessment report. We'll pay for the site investigation, anything necessary to characterize the contamination, and then we'll wait and we'll hang in there as long as it takes to get the property remediated, as long as the remediation is moving along. Okay, slide. So all of the costs that were listed on the last slide are reimbursable at percentages, grant and loan percentages that depend on, for acquisition projects, it depends mostly on the type of project. So this is a chart that I'm not going to go through the whole thing because obviously there's a lot of factors, but the grant percentages range from 25% all the way up to 100%. Anything that is less than 100% is a matching grant, and we don't have a lot of requirements for what can be used as matching funds. Grants from other entities are great, and we support them. We also provide loan funding at 0% interest for acquisition projects. It's over 30 years, so that can also serve as the match. Okay. There's a lot more information on our application. Our applications on our website gives lots of detail, but in order to navigate that chart, probably best to just give us a call and we'll help you figure out which category your project is in. All right, next slide. The other type of brownfields projects we fund are redevelopment of the brownfields into a park. Again, it has to be recreation and conservation purposes. There's that phrase again. It has to be either conservation or outdoor recreation. So we don't fund indoor rec facilities, only outdoor rec. But it's everything from athletic complexes to marinas to passive parks to trails, waterfront parks. It really runs the gamut. Our projects are very diverse. Support facilities are also eligible, lighting, parking, things like that. And buildings can be funded if they're in support of the outdoor rec. So things like concession stands, restroom facilities, those are all eligible as well. If there's any historic nature to the property or the structures, we require close coordination with the State Historic Preservation Office. And in addition to the indoor rec, other ineligible facilities are community centers. We don't pay for those, and we also don't pay for school sports facilities. Okay, next. Okay, so what are we going to pay for park development? Again, we'll pay for everything necessary to make the project happen except remediation, with the same, kind of positive things that we try to offer, which are, all of the investigation we'll pay for, and we'll also pay for the, we'll wait and we'll hang in there. One thing that is true about these projects is that a lot of times in a park development project, the park itself, the park facilities will serve as a cap. When that happens, we will pay for those facilities. So if that's part of the remediation, we consider it just recreation. So if the parking lot serves the park and it serves as a cap, well, then we'll pay for it. So things we won't pay for are things like disposal of contaminated soil. That's always, a list, one of those items on the payment certificate. We won't pay for that. But we'll pay for anything that is serving as a cap. So that can be, a nice way to get remediation funding from us without it being remediation funding. And again, all at the grant and loan percentages that are for development projects, which are slightly different. So slide. So these are the grant percentages for park development projects. It's a little simpler than the acquisition chart. They're all matching grants except for 100% grant projects. And so there's 4 funding categories. It's whether the applicant is a municipality, the applicant is a county, and then urban aid, it's not the applicant, it's the location. So it doesn't matter who applies, as long as it's a local government. This is nonprofit funding is a totally separate category. But if a local government applies for a project in an urban aid municipality, then that is an urban aid project. And then finally, the nonprofit project. Nonprofit projects are statutorily set at 50% grant funding, all of our projects. So unfortunately, we have no wiggle room there. But with the local government projects, we have a certain category of premium grants. So if there's 2 different types right now in the premium category. And one of those is the completely inclusive playgrounds. You may have heard of them, Jake's Law playgrounds. And we fund those at an additional 25% percentage points of grant funding. So, there's a very specific set of rules that go along with that. And if you apply for that, then you're eligible for additional grant funds. The second set is projects that are located in or easily accessible from an overburdened community subject to adverse cumulative stressors, which just rolls off the tongue. We call it an ACS OBC. These are census blocks. They're not municipalities. Some people make that mistake, but the project actually has to be located within or easily accessible from one of these census blocks that has been subject to a higher than average degree of environmental contamination. So things like sources of air pollution, scrap metal facilities. It's anything that has increased their environmental burden as a community. So we at DEP have an Office of Environmental Justice. They have a lot of great information about overburdened communities. The ACS OBCs are like a subset of those. So just because the census block you're looking at is an OBC, it's not necessarily an ACS OBC. We have lots of information in our applications as well as what I call a dummy guide for step-by-step screenshots, how to figure out if your project is in an ACS OBC. But if it is, and it's in an urban aid municipality, then you can get 100% funding for your project, which is pretty phenomenal. That's a relatively new thing, and we're excited about it. Okay, next. All right, so all those 2 charts I showed with the percentages for acquisition and the percentages for park development, those tell part of the story, but if you have a very high-priced project, they don't tell the whole story of how much money you're likely to get. And that's because demand always exceeds supply for our funding, and so we try to spread it around a little bit by having funding round caps. This chart shows the funding round caps we've had for the past few years for different types of applicants. And again, this is complicated stuff with different, very specific definitions. It's all in our application. You're welcome to reach out to us and we could help you work through, again, what category you're in or your project is in. It is very unlikely that we would go outside of these ranges, so you can use these for planning purposes. And we always tell folks to apply for a project that costs what you can afford. So what we're providing plus any match, that's what we're asking you to apply for. Okay, next slide. And I've talked about eligibility and I've talked about funding. I just want to highlight some of our application requirements. Most notably, we have a requirement for meaningful public engagement. And that means that all of our applicants have to engage the community in the project planning stage. So when you're thinking about what to do with the site, when you're thinking about what type of park or recreational facility, that's when you're talking to the public. So we have a requirement for either a community survey or a community meeting, some way to get the public involved. We also have requirements for if you're a local government, a public hearing, and all applicants have to pass a resolution. And again, more details in the application package. All right, I'm just going to go through a few examples of how we have funded brownfield sites. These are all park development projects. We do have some acquisitions, but they're much slower, unfortunately. So I'm highlighting the park development. And besides, they make a prettier picture. So these are all before and after. This is a park in Firth Amboy. It's Thomas Mundi Peterson Park. It previously was 3 different industrial operations, which were a hot mess, and they abandoned the site. It was highly contaminated. The PAR showed 44 areas of concern. And Middlesex County went in there. They remediated the site using HDSRF funding, and we funded all the improvements. Well, we and the Office of Natural Resource Restoration funded the improvements. So we funded athletic fields, comfort station, walkways, including that nice waterfront walkway along the Arthur Hill, and parking. So it's a lovely park. I highly recommend checking it out if you're in the area. Okay, next. Anzaldi Park. This is in Clifton City in Passaic. Again, the before and the after. This is the site of Athenia Steel manufacturing plant. They closed in the late 80s. Also a very highly contaminated site, over 50 areas of concern in the park. We have funded a series of projects at this site. So that's another thing with these brownfields is sometimes when it's really big and you can't do all the cleanup at once, we'll work with you to sort of do a chunk at a time. And so over the years, we funded athletic fields, pickleball courts, a field house, bocce ball, shuffleboard. It's a real, community resource with a lot of different recreation that was done, like I said, little by little over time. Okay, and then there is a slide, Whitman Park. This is in Camden City. Whitman Park was pre-existing, as you can see in the before picture. You can see there's a ball field, and but right next to it was the former site of Camden Labs, which didn't really make a nice next door neighbor to the park. It was abandoned, and it had turned into a real hot spot for illegal dumping. It was a problem. So a lot of effort went into the cleanup. We sort of came in at the back end and helped with creating an expansion to the park. We also helped rehab some of the existing park facilities, but it's now this gorgeous park. And where there was the Camden Labs is an athletic field, concessions, restrooms, a spray park, playground, and a picnic pavilion. So it's a real happy ending story there. All right, slide. Okay, so I've really just gone full bore, brief overview. So we are always here to answer all your questions. This is our website. You go to the contact us, go to local and nonprofit assistance, and then there's 2 columns, and they're broken down by counties, the contact people. A lot of times a county will have a different Green Acres contact for an acquisition project than it will for a development project. So just make sure you got the right one, but if you don't, you don't have to worry about it. All right, and next slide. All right, that's it. But I am happy to answer any questions you have now. Yes.
Yeah, it's for the benefit of folks online here. I thought I heard you say something, help me understand. For acquisition, you said something about you'll only invest in clean sites?
We will only release funding at the point that the site is clean. So
the term clean is pretty touchy subject in the brownfields world.
Its RAO is issued, and we have our own in-house environmental specialist, so he will look at the RAO, just make sure it looks good, and at that point.
At one point, it was the approval of a remedial action work plan that made you eligible for the acquisition funding.
It's true, and unfortunately, that was during the NFA times. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but there was a handful of times where people just walked away at that point. They got our funding, and they never got the NFA letter, and the parks are being used, and it, yeah, so that was bad. And some of them are actually still out there like that. So we really, we can work with you. Like sometimes funding is needed to actually do the remedial work, in which case we can release a percentage of the funding. And with development, we can pay as it goes. You don't have to, like, you can get a bill, or you can pay the first bill from the contractor, and then you can get reimbursed for that bill. Or you can.
But you've got to acquire the site in order to affect remediation, right?
Yeah, our park development, you have to own the site or have like a 25-year revocable.
So what you're suggesting is an entity goes through and cleans up a site they don't own, and then apply for funding.
Well, usually these are sites that have come to the applicants. We're not suggesting you go out and specifically buy the Brownfield sites with all of the contamination. I mean, that's what, we do fund the acquisition. So you can come through us for acquisition funding. And then, it does get a little tricky with the cleanup, but lots of folks do it. So I know it's possible.
Well, didn't you just say they needed an RAO in order to acquire with your funding?
Yes. And honestly, what a lot of people do is they will pre-acquire. They'll use municipal bond funding or some other type of funding to pre-acquire the property, and then they will clean it up, and then we will give them the reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement program.
Yeah.
Been a huge challenge in trying to convert brownfields to greenfields for the 40 years that I've been doing this. And just give you a heads up, at this requirement now that it has an RAO, it's just almost prohibitive, But that's my 2 cents.
Older than me.
Just on the point, so RAO restricted and limited restricted RAOs are acceptable.
As long as, if it's restricted with the deed notice and everything.
You can't get it, yeah.
Awesome. Go back to the investigation money.
Right.
So because the 10 million out of HD for recreation and conservation is oversubscribed,
right?
Your funding then becomes important to help fund the investigation, correct?
Yeah, we are more than happy.
So can you use your funding, and if HD were available, you can marry those two funding pools together?
Yeah, like let's say it's a 50.
Something real quick. I know I did say the recreation conservation grant is oversubscribed, but that does not affect investigation.
Okay.
So it's still 100% investigation still available for anyone who needs it.
I was going to say that now, yeah. The investigation, you're good. It's for the RA that it's the
remediation is over.
So I still don't understand the timing. Like, so if someone had a draft LOI, they were looking to acquire a property that has contamination through an SIRI, I guess what's the timing to come to your program?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to explain the action.
Letter of intent. So the county has a letter of intent to acquire the property. It's obviously something they're planning to do. And it just not be like the time frame, I think, is what my question is. Like, how early do they need to come to you, or when's too late?
In order to come to us for acquisition, they can come, anytime that it looks like it's definitely going to happen, or that they even like it to happen. Honestly, our acquisition funds, the only time we would say don't apply is if the landowner said to the applicant, I am not selling this to you.
But they're completely not interested.
Exactly. You can apply if it's something you want to acquire and there's a chance. If it's for park development, then you apply after you own it.
Okay, thank you.
You want online or good?
No questions here.
And again, you can always reach out to us. We're always available and happy to chat.
Thanks a lot. That was great.
Yeah.
That was a good point. Next, we have Paul, talk about the
It's like a hole in the head.
water bank, the New Jersey Water Bank. One has the infrastructure.
Morning. My name's Paul Hauk. I'm the Bureau Chief in Municipal Finance and Construction, which is part of BP's Division of Water Quality. Next slide. I'm just going to go over today kind of what the New Jersey Water Bank is, some of the financing opportunities for brownfield funding, and some recent projects that we either funded or have applications for. Excellent. So, the New Jersey Water Bank is a partnership between the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank. And we provide low-cost financing for the planning, design, construction of water infrastructure projects. We do this through low interest loans and principal forgiveness loans, which is basically grant-like funding. We're capitalized by grants from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and those grants have to be matched by about 20% state funds every year. In the past few years, we've also received a substantial amount of money from the bipartisan infrastructure law, about $1 billion over the last 5 years. And also $300 million were appropriated to the SRFs through the state's American Rescue Plan Act funds. All these capitalization dollars are leveraged by the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, which provides AAA market rate funding to the loan projects. And as the loans are repaid, it's designed to provide funding in perpetuity for water infrastructure projects. Next slide. Our Clean Water State Revolving Fund finances any projects that maintain or improve water quality. We provide financing to local government units, counties, municipalities, sewage authorities. We cannot provide funding to the state or any federally funded facilities or privately owned clean water facilities. The highlighted project type for site remediation, we do provide funding for water quality related components of site remediation projects. The cleanup of abandoned and contaminated industrial sites are eligible for funding, but a local government unit or a county has to sponsor the project and guarantee repayments of the loan. In addition to that, we also finance wastewater treatment plants, sewers, pump stations, stormwater management facilities, equipment purchases like street sweepers, vac trucks, and we also provide funding for the planning and design phase of any project. Some of the benefits of a water bank loan include our repayment terms are up to 30 years for the useful life of the project. We have rolling applications, so there's no yearly application deadline. We'll receive applications whenever a project sponsor is ready to go. And that application remains active until the project is either funded or the application is withdrawn. We'll finance planning and design costs for any costs that were incurred even before the application was submitted, so we'll reimburse those costs. We award funding on a rolling basis, so whenever the project's ready to start construction, we'll close on the loan and provide funding to the project. During construction, we offer a low interest construction loan, which is very close to 0%. Funds are drawn from the loan, but don't have to be repaid until construction is complete. And during construction, we say there's no out-of-pocket costs because municipality can submit us invoices and we'll pay any invoice incurred, and they can use our reimbursement to pay the contractors. Slide. This table shows the financing package we're currently offering for the Clean Water SRF. And also on the right-hand side of the slide is a QR code that brings you directly to that document. Not going to go through everything, but we offer the best financing packages to the highest priority clean water projects like combined sewer overflow abatement. We also provide principal forgiveness and good loan terms to disadvantaged communities. On our website, we have a list of all municipalities that qualify as disadvantaged communities. It's basically the lowest 25% of municipalities by median household income in the state. On the very bottom of the table is our package for typical brownfield redevelopment projects that are sponsored by municipalities or counties. It's 25% of the costs are funded with an interest-free loan from the DEP. The remaining 75% of the costs are loaned at AAA market rate. It just shows that this year we have $247 million in principal forgiveness available through our SRFs, and $110 million of that is on the clean water side. A typical loan to a municipality or county would be 50% DEP funding, 50% IBank AAA market rate funding. And over the course of repayments, that saves about 35% of the total financing costs when compared to going out and bonding independently. Slide. This is an example of an application we currently have in-house. It's the Coppers Peninsula Redevelopment Project. Let's see. This project will support the redevelopment of Coppers Coke site, a contaminated former industrial site in Kearney. The project will improve water quality through remediation of site and stormwater and sanitary sewer infrastructure. It includes the demolition of existing buildings, existing infrastructure, and the implementation of groundwater remediation program. The construction of an impervious, structurally stable cap over historic fill. Then construction of drinking water infrastructure, a new slurry wall, and landscaping improvements. The project is being sponsored by the Hudson County Improvement Authority, and the water bank financing is going to be about $51 million, with 25% of that being interest-free. The next example is a project that is nearing completion. It's the crossings at Brick Church. This project is going to replace existing sanitary sewer and stormwater mains, complete remedial actions, capping of historic fill, and landscaping improvements. And it's a portion of the larger redevelopment project at Brick Church Plaza. And the final one is a project that was completed about 2 years ago. It's Hoboken's Northwest Resiliency Park. And this was both sponsored and owned by the city of Hoboken, so they had more favorable financing. Financing included a FEMA brick grant for $10 million, Hudson County Open Space Trust Fund for $1 million. We gave them $2 million in principal forgiveness and $35.6 million in interest-free financing. The project consisted of the acquisition of the site. It was a property formerly owned by BASF, and the site had PCB impacted soil. So prior to the sale to the city of Hoboken, the site was remediated and a cap was installed over the entire site. The Hoboken project serves a number of different purposes, including on-grade stormwater detention through green infrastructure, on-grade public park and open space, and subsurface stormwater storage and treatment facilities. The stormwater system was designed to accommodate up to a 10-year, 12-hour rain event. And the public park was designed through a community planning process to include multi-purpose athletic fields, play areas, trees, rain gardens, an ice rink, and open space. Next slide just shows that underground storage facility under construction. The QR code on the right on this page brings you to our water infrastructure investment plan website, and that includes all program resources and applicant guidance on how to navigate the water bank loan process. Questions?
Thank you, Paul. And it's a great program. So, a couple of questions. For the principal forgiveness, you still offer principal forgiveness for CSO municipalities?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can use that to implement long-term control plans, correct?
Yeah.
When it comes to development opportunities, I understand that a public entity needs to sponsor the project to you all, but they can do that on behalf of a developer as long as the municipality or public entity agrees that they will be on the hook to repay the loan, and therefore they have to work out an agreement with the developer on their own.
Right. Yeah, we usually get one or two applications like that per year, and the most complex because those agreements have to be in place.
Yeah.
And the IBank has to analyze the repayment ability of the private entity.
And in that case, the remediation cost only where the water quality infrastructure is being placed is covered, can be wrapped into the loan, but not the remediation cost of the entire site. Is that correct?
The entire site.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. All right.
It's affecting cleaner water.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's changed a little bit over the years. And a plug for you guys. I worked in Bayonne on Fitzpatrick Park, which took full advantage of your program, and it's operating phenomenally. So for anybody out there that is looking to do this type of either development or upgrades for water quality, you guys are really a great program to hit on.
Next time I'm going to use that as the example because that won an award from EPA and it received a lot of CSO.
Yeah, and in fact it worked. It was 60% done when a hurricane hit, and it managed the storm water tremendously. So good job.
I think it's water and sediment and surface water. So tight.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think because we're getting close to 10:50, you want to take a break now? Do you mind, Janine? That way. No, that's good. Yeah. So rather than just have, let's just do that. We'll take the break now. Although I would like to add. So I have a project you've got many people here probably heard about, my Somerville BDA. Green Sea project, which was a stream between two lobes of the landfill, utilized HCSRF obviously because it was a BDA, so it received 75% remedial action grant, and it was a $16 million remediation to clean that stream. They used at the time it was the EIT Infrastructure Trust paid for the 25% match for that remediation, and one of the properties or two of the properties were not owned at the time by the municipality. And for the RA grant for municipalities, they need to maintain title or lien gets put on the property for the amount of that remediation. Well, they used Green Acres funding to acquire that property because ultimately, when it was done, it was all considered open space. So that was a project that was pretty cool that used multiple lines of funding. So it can be done. And with that, let's take a 15-minute break. Okay, obviously Janine's here to talk about EPA funding. Let her do it.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. I'm Shanine Mitchell. I am the Brownfields Section Supervisor for EPA, Region 2, and I'm joined by Patrick Peck, who is our RLF coordinator, and I think that we have a wonderful, experienced staff, all that are also, I think, joining us virtually, but just excited to be here amongst our partners and friends to talk about the EPA Brownfield Financial Resources. So it's going to be like a mixed match of like what we're currently updating for the program, as well as some of our funding information. So next slide. So I know it's a lot, and I'm going to try and get into it in 15 to 20 minutes, but we're going to start with the job training, go into some of the competition information, then we're going to talk about brownfield funding for redevelopment, and then followed by some of our technical assistance, and then I'm going to talk briefly about some of the other federal programs that are available, and especially through our federal programs guide. I know we talked a little bit about it through last quarter, but I really want to emphasize looking at the federal programs guide. I'm sorry if I'm talking fast because I just had an extra large coffee, but we're, like I said, I have 20 minutes to give you all this information, or last 15 minutes, I think. So our Brownfield job training grants, they serve as seed money and are designed to recruit, train, and place individuals that are impacted by brownfields into sustainable environmental jobs. Our program in Region 2 is very successful. We have over 70% placement rate. So for FY26, I'm happy to announce that we have 2 New Jersey grantees, which are Groundwork Elizabeth and Montclair State University. So please support them as much as you can. We're really excited to bring these new grantees to the table and look forward to them doing some good work on job training. Our FY27 grant solicitation amounts are still to be determined, because I'm going to be emphasizing this a lot as well, that we're slowly climbing out of bill. We need to get rid of a lot of the good work that the Biden administration has done and start transitioning into our new administration. So bill funding is one of those particular things that we're trying to transition out of. So for more information on Brownfield's job training, I provided the contact Ricardo. I think he's online. But we're also looking for new New Jersey job training grantees. So if you know of anybody that's interested in job training, please let us know, and then we'll provide you NJDP with updates as well. So now we're going to get into the FY26 Multipurpose Assessment and Cleanup Grant Competition. I think some of applications we got in, but the deadline was January 28th. We're currently doing the threshold and programmatic capability review for these applications. So you might get a contact, an email from our project officers just requesting some additional information if needed. The announcements will be made in late summer. And for additional information, please reach out to our NPC coordinators, Gritsko and Esmeralda. They'll be happy to address any questions that you may have. So again, this year is multipurpose assessment and cleanup. So now let's talk a little bit about FY27, which would be our assessment, revolving loan, and cleanup grant. So we're going to swap out the multipurpose, put in the revolving loan. So obviously we're still focused on FY26, so the FY27 grant competition process has not been established as yet. But applicants should start to be prepared to apply for grants with the traditional award amounts without supportive bill funds, as I previously mentioned. So what does that look like? We are absolutely not sure as yet, but we'll keep the state posted. We'll keep all of you posted. We'll work closely with NJIT to help understand what life is like without bill, as I call it. So yeah, we're looking forward to that, and I'm thinking in terms of, instead of looking at projects on a larger scale basis, that we're going to have to dial it down and look at things like per parcel in order to actually get the redevelopment done. Oh, 1 second, my boss is calling me. So cost shares may be required and may return to the program. So also just want you to think in terms of all the great information that you heard, what can be used as leverage funding for our Brownfield grants, but also how we can, as was mentioned by NJIT, how could we stack some of the funding and mash them together, put them to puzzle together so that we can get to the redevelopment goal. So we're going to plan to host events about transitioning out of bill funding and how you can use other fellow funds for Brownfield's redevelopment. So again, the Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund will be available in FY27. And with the multi-purpose being swapped out for FY28. So for more information about the RLF, contact Patrick, who is going to talk about the FY26 revolving loan supplemental funding. So I'm going to pass that over to Patrick.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Patrick. I'm the revolving loan fund coordinator for the region. We are excited to announce we got this one this week. For those that already have an active revolving loan fund grant in the region, the supplemental funding for FY26 has been announced. That is going to be, applications for that is going to be due March 16th, so next month. We're looking at about having $25 million total. This is still bill funding for that supplemental funding, with depending on eligibility requirements, which comes down to like how much of your funds have you used, how much are committed, how much money you've received as an RLF grantee throughout the amount of time you've had these grants, up to $800,000 for this fiscal year. At a moment. I did not have coffee. I'm the opposite side of the coin. That is, we just got that this week. So that is open for those that have a revolving loan fund grant with EPA. Supplemental is available. If you have further questions, please reach out to me. If you go on the website, all of the eligibility requirements are on there, the materials to do the application. And again, the deadline for that is March 16th. So.
Thank you, Patrick. And we're going to move on. And we're going to talk a little bit about the actual Brownfields funding for redevelopment. So we'd like to start off, as we call it, with our appetizer, or what we call assessment grants. And our assessment grants are exactly as it sounds. It's designed for you to do a phase one, or let me backtrack a little bit, inventorying, right? And then you could do the actual assessment, the phase one, the phase two. You could do some planning for remediation with the assessment grant funding. And we do provide assessment grants for coalitions, and that's really more than one community that doesn't have the capacity to apply on their own. They can form a coalition and apply for our assessment grants. And we also have what we call our community-wide assessment grant for states and tribes. So NJDP, knock, knock, could go ahead and apply for the funding. Again, we don't know what the amounts are going to be for FY27. In the past, we provided funding to NJEDA. They've been fabulous at using the money. They received $2 million from that assessment grant. So just throwing it out there. If you know of any other federal state agencies that you think might be interested, please share that information with us. And then we have our cleanup grants, and cleanup grants are exactly as they sound. They're designed to carry out the actual cleanup of these brownfield sites, and the site has to be owned by the applicant. That's the only thing. And then, as Patrick mentioned, revolving loan fund. Did you want to give them a little taste of what the actual RLF is?
Sure. Yeah. So revolving loan fund is one of the more unique programs or grant types that we have in the program. I should even say with like the assessment and the cleanups, those are a little bit more direct. The recipient receives the money. They're hiring the consultants and doing the work on the specific sites. With the revolving loan fund, you receive the funding, and then you work as more of an intermediary. So you're giving out loans and grants to, you can do loans to private entities, but you can also do to nonprofits, government organizations, anyone who would be eligible for the other types of funding. And what's neat with that one is, since it's primarily a loan program, the loans get repaid, they get repaid with interest, and so you have a long-term funding source that revolves over time. And then with supplemental funding, you can keep charging it up, adding money to it throughout the years too. So that's, one of the more unique programs that we have.
Thank you, Patrick. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with the multi-purpose grants. And they're designed to do the assessment and the cleanup in one grant, because you can't do cleanup in an assessment grant and you can't do assessments in a cleanup grant. So why not have a multi-purpose where you can do all of those activities in one grant? And so you must conduct at least a phase two, and the cleanup has to be conducted with this money. And again, if you're going to do the cleanup, you have to own the site. So we also have what we called our targeted brownfield assessment, and a targeted brownfield assessment, or a TBA, is not necessarily a grant per se. It's free services that EPA provides to communities that may not want to go through the grant process. We have our EPA contractor that comes and does the phase 1 or the phase 2 for you. Sites just have to demonstrate that they have good potential for redevelopment, and we have this process on a rolling basis. So make sure that there are some redevelopment plans that we could take a look at. We bring the site to us. We have an application process. We screen the site to make sure it's eligible. And then we provide you with that phase 1, phase 2. So if you want more information about the program, you can reach out to Yocasta. She's amazing. And I provided her contact information. So then we have what we call our Land Revitalization Technical Assistance, or LRTA. This is also another free service that we provide through EPA. And basically, if you go through the process of getting a site assessed and cleaned up, we just don't kick you out the program. We want you to stay a little while longer. Maybe you need some planning assistance. Maybe you need to know how to financially stack to get to that redevelopment. So that's where our LR technical assistance comes in. We also offer a toolkit that has tools and resources to help a community get through how to redevelop for a contaminated site and how to get through that redevelopment process in a green and efficient manner. So I provided the link for you, but if you want more information on our technical assistance program, reach out to Sadira Robles, and she's also great. And also, if you want to find out more about LR programs that exist at EPA, like urban waters, Sadira is the best contact for that. And then finally, I'm going to segue into some of the federal programs that exist to help support our Brownfields program, like looking at HUD CDBG. It's the Community Development Block Grant Program. It's an amazing program. We constantly see applications that come in and use the CDBG funds as leverage for our program, or is leverage or in-kind? Leverage funding for our program. So it's a great resource that's provided by HUD, and it's designed to help communities with redevelopment goals like housing and other economic opportunities. So I highly recommend that you check it out, because it's also targeted towards low and moderate income persons. So really great support of what we're trying to do in the Brownfields program. And then there's the Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program. So if you have the CDBG funding, then you can go ahead and generate some really good loans to leverage towards your redevelopment goals. So just wanted to include those as potential resources. And then EDA also offers some really good resources as well. They have what they're calling their Public Works program, and they have resources for construction and infrastructure, as well as their Technical Assistance program, which I believe helps with planning for the redevelopment of projects. So also a really good resource. And I know I didn't put links because I'm going to explain 1 second. We also have federal funding through DOT. So if we have infrastructure issues that impact your brownfields redevelopment, they have block grants. They also have some planning resources as well that you can utilize. And you're going to say, well, Shanine, how do you know all this? Well, I'll tell you how I know all this, because I don't know everything about brownfields, but I try. Our federal programs guide for 2025, that's where I pulled some of this information from. This is a really good resource that we use in the Brownfields program. I like it because it'll tell you how you're eligible, what you're eligible for, when and where you can use the federal resources, if it's for planning, if it's for construction, the actual assessment or remediation. It'll tell you what phase of the project you can use for what particular resource. So I love it. And then on top of that, they provide a snapshot, so a case study on how the funds were used. So again, as we are trying to pull away from bill and get out of the use of the large pots of money, we have to rely on our partners. And hopefully we can also consider not only the interagency working group, but bringing our federal partners to the table, maybe to participate in some of the roundtables as well. And I think that's all I have for now. I just wanted to show you our Brownfield program staff, but also just a friendly reminder that our Brownfield's 2027 is coming up. It's going to, I think it's scheduled for May. The call for ideas comes out, I think, March 4th, right, Jamila?
I think it's the second.
March, oh, Jamila's on it. March 2nd. So we highly encourage you guys to submit call for ideas. We would love to have some panels, representative of Region 2 at the conference. And yeah, if you have any questions, if you have grants, if you have a travel line in your grant, then you most likely can use that for the conference. So more to come on that. And I think that's about it for us.
No, but I'd love to.
Where's the conference?
Oh, I forgot. The conference is in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Nice.
So ask your bosses if you can go. Thank you.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Steve.
Great to see you again.
Same here.
Can you tell us who applied for the, in New Jersey, applied for the MAC grant this year?
Yeah, well, we had about 40 some odd applications region-wide. And so I was asked that question earlier, but I think we had about about a dozen applications from New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're pleasantly surprised about the submittals from New Jersey. Of course, we got a little bit more in New York, and actually, you guys are running probably neck and neck with Puerto Rico. So it's good. You know, we want more people to come and apply for the funding. So hopefully, we will try our best to encourage you to do so.
Thank you. And who in New Jersey now has an RLF?
Put me on the spot. NJEDA has one, I believe. Camden, Trenton, and am I forgetting one? Hudson County.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's okay if you can't pull it off.
All good. There's 3 or 4 in the state.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can look it up on the website.
Yeah. And just one last thing, I know that we didn't talk about success stories, but we, our EPA funding, even though it might be small, it's mighty. We have our tentacles in a lot of success stories. And so, like, if you ever went to the Red Bulls Arena, that has EPA Brownfield funding involved with it. And so is the redevelopment of the Harrison train station. We're really proud of that. We're proud of Kramer Hill landfill and the way that it's been changing the community. So the overall goal is always to support the community and have them engaged in all of these redevelopment projects and goals, but also just to make a difference and make a change environmentally. So thank you guys for supporting us, and we would love to support you as well.
Also, it took them, but there's 5 total.
See, I was trying to buy Patrick some time.
Hey, Red Bull Arena is now called the Sports Illustrated Arena.
Exactly.
Are they hosting the World Cup games this year? Or did they not? Sure.
It'll be a training center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jim on board for next Thursday?
Thanks, Shanine.
Thank you.
Hey, Shanine.
Hey, Vince.
Yeah. Hi, buddy. I'm Vince Petrozello with EPA. I used to work there and retired. Just as another EPA freebie, I want to mention the emergency response program. So if you guys are doing an assessment, doing some remedial work, and you come across, for example, drums that you don't know what's in the drums or some other kind of contaminant, you can contact the emergency response guys that go out there. They'll take a look at it, and if it's eligible, they'll do a free removal. If not, they'll give you some information as to the environmental problems that are assigned to the site. So if you need to get in touch with the emergency response guys, you can talk to Shanine or Patrick. They'll get in touch with me, and then we'll work it out.
Thank you, Vince.
Okay.
All right, thanks. All right, I'm just going to give a quick BD update since we are running a little long. I will make it very quick. So, our 12 new BDAs are all fully executed, so they're officially BDAs, and they're humming along. We've been having our quarterly meetings, and I believe we have some HSRF applications starting to trickle in. If not, they're going to be coming in very soon, so that's a good thing. We do encourage all our communities to attend these meetings, so that's definitely something we think is helpful for all BDA communities. Just a reminder that we did revise the MOU for all the BDAs last year. So if you haven't sent the new one in that was revised last year, please do so. We have about 10 left of the old BDAs that have not submitted them yet. We really appreciate to get them as soon as possible. Because technically that's the driving document of our partnership with the communities and the steering committee. So please get them in as soon as possible. We are also encouraging our older BDAs to look at what's going on in the BDA, reassess their development plans, and if they're dead dog types of sites that aren't ever going to be redeveloped, let's take them out and add some better ones. So anybody in the audience, virtually or here, if your BDAs have some properties that aren't going to go anywhere, come into us and come in with a modification, and let's get some sites that are better suited for quicker redevelopment, and we can add them. So please keep that in mind. And then lastly, next slide. We announced back in January that our Brownfield Success Stories ArcGIS story map. And it's an interactive map and multimedia-driven narrative, and it highlights key programs within our Brownfields office, HSRF, the BDA program especially, and our landfill redevelopment program. And it also provides some other resources to assist regulated community and showcases some of the notable site remediation and redevelopment projects we've managed in OBCR. I have the website here, but I also will get the next slide. This is just a screenshot of where you can find it on our webpage to the right there, and you can take a look at it. I was reminded that we highlighted 3 projects that we covered about a lot here, and we are in the process of doing other success stories that we've been working on for a couple of years that we would probably like to add either as a link or maybe add the virtual GIS style success stories on other projects, because we have a lot of them and we know you're out there. This is just something that I felt we needed to get out last year because it was kind of sitting around for a while. So we're aware that there are other great projects we've worked on with all you people here, but we just need time to add them and or create a link. And that's all I have. So I guess with that, this is the time where we'd like to have an open discussion. Are there any things that are on your mind that you might want to discuss here that we can look into? Roadblocks, things that are bothering you, anything. And those of you like Steve know, like we used to do this a lot at these Brownfield meetings, and I would like to have another report and do this continuing forward, because we don't know if there's problems unless you tell us. So here's a good time. So
I'm not going to be Steve or JR. And for those of you that are new to this, you probably don't understand where I'm going with this. But anyway, Alan Miller, and part of what I do is I'm on the board of the Brownfields Coalition of the Northeast. BCONE is an advocacy group for Brownfield to redevelop throughout the northeastern part of the country. We go from Vermont down to Pennsylvania, and we are having our annual conference called the NSCW on June 16th and 17th. It's in Springfield, Massachusetts at the NGM Casino. So there's multiple reasons to attend. Call for sessions ends tomorrow afternoon. And if you want to take down this website, it is nscwonline.com. That will take you to our website, which will give you all the pertinent information, and we still have slots available for sessions. If any of you have great ideas, or if you'd like to talk to me after this, be happy to talk. And now, Steve, you can go right if you want.
He's kidding. Don't.
Not really.
Sort of.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Hey, we keep hitting something. We keep hitting something, and I don't know where the relief can come from, and even if it can come from. But, the unique thing about Brownfield is that it married real estate development with environmental improvements. And a lot of times, folks are entering into a contract to sale or contemplating acquiring property, but they need to do their due diligence. And so they'll hire somebody to do an ASTM phase 1 because they don't want an LS or piece poking around yet. And there's always a data gap getting Oprah records, getting the department's old records. And I'm not criticizing the department because I know that DEP has more Oprah requests than any other department in the state by far. But has there ever been any conversation with the LSRPA or anybody else? Jeff, I don't know if you're a member of the LSRPA, but about somehow expanding the ED electronic data deliverables requirements to allow for the narrative portion of these technical reports to be made available. The summaries and the conclusions. Is that something that's been talked about at all?
I mean, as far as a summary, I don't know. Because obviously we do have the online requests now for PDF documents, from gray bars and from specific PIs that you can access now.
Yeah.
So I do know that. But are you talking specifically to a shorter summary of the documents, or just the documents themselves?
Well, an RIR.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have an online tool to access those PDF documents now. I forget what it's called. Is it Stockline? Yeah.
Mediation profile and then.
Yeah, so you can search by PI and look for PDFs if they're attached. They have to be in NGEMs attached, which they should all be now, at least to a certain point. I know we're putting everything in NGEMs, so it can be searched by PI and in the attachments. So yeah, so it's StockMiner. I forget where exactly it is, but I can find the link for you and let you know. Yeah, we were trying to move to electronic a while ago. Obviously, we have no idea. Have you ever been in one of our warehouses?
Yeah.
I have been, because we had to clean documents out once 20 years ago, and let me tell you, it's like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's huge, and I mean, I thought there was a push to electronic, make everything PDFs, but I don't know how they're doing with that and if they're going to get that.
So LSRPs don't have to they have to require the EDD, but you go look at the EDD deliverables, and it doesn't really include the narrative, the text.
Yeah, I mean, if it's attached in NGEMs, you should be able to get it as a PDF.
Yeah. How does that attachment happen?
That I don't know. I don't know how it works exactly. I mean, so in NGEMs, we have what we call our gray bars, which is like the case, I think it's an LSR gray bar, and then when submissions come in, is it the LSD gray bar? I forget. It might be reversed. And then we put in the documents, because they all come in electronically, as attachments under those gray bars. And if you search for the PI, it should show you all the PDFs associated with it.
On data miner.
Well, StockMiner is a different one. It's separate from, I don't know if it's separate on the same, like I said, I don't know where it is.
DocMiner is new. This is not data miner. DocMiner is new and improved.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's.
We'll send you the link, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
The training.
Is DEP looking at AI applications for data reporting on NGEMs?
That's a good question. I mean, I know we have some kind of TP AI, but I haven't heard about.
There's a lot of Microsoft programs. I know that other government agencies. I know that EDA and you are looking at them. Copilot is one of them.
I mean, I think it's available. I don't know if we've had any really formal training on how to use it with our stuff yet, but I mean, I think there's been talks. AI's everywhere.
No, I mean, yeah, it is everywhere, but I'm just saying, the department will or a government agency will establish contracts with, say, Microsoft or other products that they have relationships with, and start looking at it for things like real-time data reporting, which is something that I think the public generally is asking for. But I didn't know DEP was doing that.
I don't know. I mean, right now, if you don't know anything, if you worked in DEP, we've had our old NGEMS database system that was based on Access 97, so that's how old it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. So we have one now. It's called Modernized Pega NGEMS, which is a web-based. And right now, our IT have been working on that tirelessly because we were supposed to pull the plug on old NGEMS in September. Hasn't happened because there's been so many problems converting. And, so that's been a huge, push, for like right now, that's like the big thing our IT's working on. So I'm sure there's some AI stuff in the works. I don't know. I'll have to look into it.
Hey, it's gonna take them 20 years to get it.
Is anyone opposed to being part of a tweet? Okay, just checking. That's why I'm taking the pictures. Don't mind me.
Anything else? Anything online? No?
Yeah, they told me to take pictures.
I guess with that, I'd like to thank you all for
Okay.
attending. This is a great meeting, I think. Hopefully you guys learned something. I actually learned some stuff. Very happy with the turnout. This is a good one. Weather helps. Not a bad weather day.